There's a famous quote that's often used to describe Paris and the Parisians is "Je ne sais quoi." And it's that certain irresistible charm or vibrancy that you can't quite explain. And that's it.
This is Solo Travel Talk. Your solo travel advisor is Astrid Clements.
Ooh la la! Regular listeners know that Astrid Clements, solo travel advisor, has been many places, seen many things, and has a flair for adventure. So when Astrid says one trip in particular is memorable and has made it to her top trips list, it's time to listen. I'm producer Catherine O'Brien. Astrid is back from Paris, France, and her fashion and style tour, and we get to benefit from her fabulous adventure. I can't wait to hear everything about this trip, Astrid.
Oh, well, to me, just the word Paris describes somewhere elegant, unique, irresistible. I mean, Paris, that word is beautiful. It's just so appropriate for this wonderful city. And before I really get into the podcast, I have to say that I am so passionate about my love for this city. You know, they tout it as the most beautiful city in the world, and really, to me, it is. So if I get carried away in this podcast, just humor me, because, I mean, Paris, there's something about Paris that is so special and moves me on such a deep level. I don't get that in very many places. And I get it consistently every time I go to Paris. So, with that said, you know, Paris, it is like the other major world-class cities. It has the best of the best. But to me, there's something about Paris, their best just seems to be better than even the best. The magnificent architecture, a lot of it is very old architecture. But there's still something about the balance and the harmony and even the opulence that is just so inspiring and relevant. The magnificent manicured parks and gardens and boulevards. I mean, in a big city, to have so many trees sculptured and clipped just right. And the Tuileries Gardens and the Bois de Boulogne and everything. There's just something that's special about how they maintain things and care for things and use them over and over again. And you see it in the parks and the squares and the landscaping. And that just tells you right there that there is a really special essence about this city. The extraordinary food. I mean, oh my gosh. There are 70 plus Michelin restaurants or Michelin star restaurants in Paris. There's nowhere like that in the world. Their bistro food, their everyday food is just fabulous. The specialty food shops, you don't even have to buy anything. Just go in there and just peruse at how, you know, just how they display it and how they create it. I mean, bread, they'll put artwork on bread and they do all kinds of things that you don't see in most cities in the world. I mean, you have your specialty shops, but this is in every neighborhood. There's shops like this. Best steak tartare in the world, best omelets in the world, steamed mussels, you know, croque monsieur, just a basic ham sandwich they can make. I just could go, bread and cheese. If all you just eat is bread and cheese and have some wine. I mean, it's so good there. So, I mean, you know, this is a city that has got so much quality in everything. You know, museums galore. The Louvre truly is the best, most prolific museum in the world. Hermitage in St. Petersburg, they're neck and neck horse race, but it is unbelievable, and you cannot see it in a day or two. I mean, you really probably have to live in Paris for a year and go back and savor and take some classes and understand each art history period, etc., and what you're looking at. Then, you've got your Impressionist museums, the Museum d'Orsay and the Museum de la Orangerie. I think that's how you say it. Please humor me again with my horrible...
Our terrible French, yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Then some of your modern museums, Centre Pompidou, the Picasso Museum. They have in the Louvre a special museum called the Museum of Decorative Arts, which is fabulous. It has just so many things about French design and furniture through the ages, and it's just blows your mind to see the beauty and the craftsmanship and the real artistry in that very special French way. It's really, I mean, it's not unbelievable that people don't still just feel like the French have just got that special blend of sophistication, creativity, and a little bit of a flair or surprise that you don't expect. In a way, it's just the way, and it's obvious. Of course, fashion museums, Yves Saint Laurent, Pierre Cardin. You've got the Rodin museums. Then back to fashion. It's a fashion mecca. I still think it is the center of real fashion. I mean, New York is fabulous. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it is, whew. I love to go to New York, especially, all during the fashion seasons, etc. I mean, New York is just wonderful for fashion, and LA to a certain extent too. But, to me, Paris is the mother lode. It really still is where it's just the best. In the Parisian women themselves, I think they're the chicest in the world still. And they focus on, or there's a lot written about the practice or their practice of the art of being a woman, or the art of, I don't want to say seduction per se, because it's not so open, but they really do focus on taking care of themselves, dressing well, and not overdressed, but just well dressed, and lots of things. And another thing, they strive to be beautiful at any age. Yeah. And I think that they just kind of have a sense of, or they exude confidence, and they're just fearless. It's okay. They can handle anything. Mm. And I love that.
It's like a real exploration of femininity to me, it seems like, that they really value the feminine.
Yes, and in a very nice way, in a confident way.
Like honoring it.
Exactly. And that in itself is very alluring to me. It's got a lot of natural power to it, in a nice way, not in a way that is manipulative or anything. It's just a way that, both all people, whether the young, old, female, male, I mean, when they see a really special French woman, whether she's, highbrow or lowbrow, there's just something about them. And I think it's in Paris. I mean, you see a lot of it still. Shopping paradise. Oh my gosh, Paris. You asked me why I love Paris. I'm just shopping paradise. Boutiques are still alive and well in Paris. And shopping is changing all over the world with the internet and Amazon and everybody's website. People are not shopping in boutiques like they used to, but there's still a vibrant boutique reality in Paris. So that's still a lot of fun. You can go in and browse and see a lot of different things. The shopkeepers are still, very engaging, and I like that. I'm older, and I come from the era where we did shop all the time, even before shopping malls. But so boutiques really still are very prominent in Paris. So that makes it great for shopping. Then they also have a couple of very large, wonderful stores like, a Harrods in London. Maybe not quite as chic in certain ways that Harrods is, but Galeries Lafayette, Le Printemps, Bon Marché, they are fabulous big box stores that have all the designers in it, from the high to the chicer lower ends. They're fabulous. I mean, you can find things there that you can't find anywhere else. So you even got, if you don't have time to do boutique shopping, when you're in Paris, just go to Galeries Lafayette or Bon Marché, Le Bon Marché, and I guarantee you, you will not end up empty-handed. Something will just make you reach in your purse and buy it. Because here again, there's a wonderful quality balance between quality and price there, and something that you feel like, I really want that, and I'm going to get it. And you see, and that you see that in Paris, to me, more than anywhere in the world, because it doesn't seem to me in Paris that they're just pushing things on you or selling you things, or it's the marketing or whatever. They draw you in, and then you're just kind of like, you know it when you see it. And that's very nice. I mean, I particularly, I guess I'm drawn in a lot. So I like to be drawn in. But, they still have a lot of unique products, because Paris and the Parisians like to have a sort of individualism as part of their style. Everybody has kind of like a smoldering flare that's underneath. They don't want to go overboard, but they're looking for that right tone or color of nail polish, or that right stick pin for this particular ensemble. And it could take them 15 years to settle on that one with the right color red or whatever, but they are very into this individualism and flair that is not overpowering. And, back to the fashion part and the shopping, it is the home of haute couture and the most coveted brands in the world: Yves Saint Laurent, Christian Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Sonia Rykiel, Hermes. They are all home-based here. And really on two streets in Paris, Avenue Montaigne and Faubourg Saint-Honoré. That's where they all are, and except Louis Vuitton has their flagship on the Champs-Élysées. Those stores and the stores on those streets, I mean, that is it. You don't get any better than that. And they're wonderful stores in Rome and London and in New York and even in Las Vegas, Tokyo, in different places in the world. But these stores of these designers, this is where you could buy them. And I must say, when I went on my trip this last December, at the beginning of this month, the prices were very good. And because I was a foreigner, I did cash in on the VAT, and I bought a purse, a Louis Vuitton purse, and I looked at the price in the United States, and it was about $500 more.
Really?
Yes. Huh. So, a lot of times you don't think it's cheaper because, they take in the exchange rate and everything, the tax or the import tax, whatever. But this particular time, this purse that I bought really was that much less. So that was an added plus. But back to why I love Paris so much and the different elements of it, especially for a woman, that are so much fun if you're a solo traveler. Vintage. Now, vintage shopping, that used to be like, no. Nobody did that. That was kind of like, oh, Paris has taken it to a new level. Because first of all, they get so many of these fabulous older Hermes pieces and Chanel and everything that is just out of this world. It never leaves Paris. So when an elderly lady passes away or whatever, lots of times their estate has these fabulous pieces of accessories and clothing, and it just stays in Paris, and it's sold in some of their fabulous vintage shops. Vintage shopping in Paris is great. Now, you can't always get really good prices, but the quality of the merchandise, oh, it's just fabulous. And then if you want to go lower end, the flea markets are to die for too. They have, first of all, one of the largest flea markets in the world outside. It's called Klingen Court or something like that. You take the subway out. And I remember about 35 years ago when I went, I actually bought a lamb fur coat at this flea market, and I still wear it today. It's that pretty. Now, I've been back to the flea market out there several times, and the merchandise I don't think is as high quality as it used to. It used to be a really, it had a lot of good stuff in a certain way, but it's not quite as good. But there are a lot of different neighborhood flea markets that are kind of like pop-ups and that kind of thing.
Fun.
And those are a lot of fun. So shopping is just fabulous in Paris. Doesn't get any better on all levels. Then Paris is, the way it's designed, I guess you would say, is, or the plan of the city, it's broken up, basically, the inner city in 16 neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods are called arrondissements or whatever. But they are laid out in the shape of a snail shell. So they start with the first and goes to the second and goes around, and then it just spreads out into the 16th. But what is so wonderful about this is that every neighborhood has its own flavor, its own kind of history in little mini culture. Like the 7th is the most aristocratic. The first is, right there where the Louvre is and where Louis has that beautiful palace that's now the Louvre. Then you have, the Marais district, which was the older Jewish enclave that actually was a swamp at first. Now it is a thriving, very hip place to live. And there's lots of good shopping there. It just everything is there. It's like where the boho chic is. Oh yes, it's very chic in that area now. And the Montmartre district, it's still kind of decadent and artsy. Lots of artists live in that area. Very different from the 7th or the 1st. And I'm going to call it district because I can't say
arrondissement.
Yeah, I can't. Please, I don't want to do it to that beautiful word. And of course, the left bank, which is, where the real intellectuals and very sophisticated people live on the left bank. I personally love the left bank. There's just something about it that just, it just really... So, and then in each one of these neighborhoods, they have all their little specialty cafes and bistros that the Parisians go to daily, because the Parisians don't stay in their apartments. They like to be out. They like to walk the city. They like to sit in the cafes. They eat out at night, and they don't go back in until around 10. And then they, I guess, get themselves ready for bed and probably read and go to bed. But they're out and about. So that you get this lively feel all over, which, is great. Couple of more things, and then we'll move on to the next question. But I told you, I am so passionate about this city. You're just going to have to hold on, because my goal with this podcast is to really share the magic and the quality and the reason why Paris is this fabulous, one-of-a-kind, beautiful city that never gets old. it is just, there's something there. I mean, New York is fabulous too, but Paris has got something, in my opinion. Okay, then we've got antique. It's an antique lover's heaven. If you love antiques, I mean, this place is great. From the furniture to the ceramics, the art objects, the fabrics, the quality. I mean, even if you don't like antiques, you can't help but appreciate how beautiful these antiques are, because there's something about their refinement that is always kind of restrained. It's not restrained too much, so it's just, I think it's beautiful, and their sense of color and even their opulence is just really right. I'm not real fond of the Napoleon era. He got a little too masculine, and with all of his birds, and I mean, eagles on the, and some of the symbolism that he used was a little too heavy. But and I don't know, it just wasn't totally French. But antiques galore here. Last, well, maybe not last, but the nightlife too is fun. I mean, I remember when I was a young girl, the first time I went, my father said, "Now, look, Astrid, Paris, you need to be back into your hotel room when the sun goes down, because Paris, there's a lot that goes on at night.
After dark."
Yeah, and this is my father talking.
Yeah.
And I was a freshman in college. Yeah. And I paid attention because he, I loved him so much, and anything he said, I totally trusted. But let me tell you, Paris is fun at night. It's not really scary if you don't go into the places where, it is more dangerous. But they have great Cabernet shows. I mean, we went to this one performance called How to Be a Parisian. And it was so hilarious. It was an hour and a half comedy show of just one person, and he goes into everything about living in Paris and why the Parisians, have gotten such a bad reputation with their and everything is just puts them out, and they just have this great disdain for anything common, and foreigners are just all a bunch of barbarians that they just have such a hard time with even being civil to. But that's even changed now, in fact. But the show was just absolutely hilarious. And the point of the whole show was to try to kind of educate you in, that's just a little bit of a prior mindset that is still lingers. But if you want to get along there, act like them, and they'll take right to you. So if somebody gives you that, give it right back. The show was hilarious. But of course they have opera and all kinds of performing arts go on there. So there's really nice nightlife. The hotels there, I mean, I don't know if most people know this, but they have more Palace-rated hotels than anywhere in the world. And a Palace-rated hotel is higher than a 5-star. I mean, it is like, I don't know if they give it stars, but it has all these different requirements, but they are, I don't know, there's 5 or 6 of them: the Crillon, Georges V, Plaza Athénée, Le Maurice, the Ritz, and I think the Bristol is too. But these hotels, the restaurants there, I mean, really, you think you're dining, that Louis the 15th is going to come in and join you. It's so beautiful. And not all of them have a classic French interior to them. It's an eclectic mix of some, modern and even Art Deco and everything, but they are just stunning. The quality of the food, the bars, the lounges in these, oh, golly. Well, we decided we were going to eat our real expensive meal at lunch. And then, at night we would be a little lighter. And she loves to go to real elegant lounges where, I guess you would say the real rich and famous, every now and then go in. It's just a real nice crowd. I mean, I don't want to sound kind of elitist or whatever, but she really enjoys that and sampling, some of the really beautiful cocktails that are done. And usually the music is just gorgeous and the crowd is quite nice. So that was our people watching venue, is we went in all of these palace hotels at night to their lounge and had a drink or a glass of wine and basically wound down from our wonderful day's activity and had a lot of fun people watching. But it's very beautiful in there. It's not like your regular. A lot of times you go into places and you just feel, I don't know, I'm not going to stay in here. I'll just forego it. But so the hotels, especially the finest of the fine, they are the finest of the fine. There's something absolutely unbelievable, and there are lots of them. Yeah. I mean, for one place, there's quite a few. I guess as far as the tangible things, the other thing that I really love about Paris is so walkable. You can walk this whole city if you want to, within the 16 districts. Now, you have to have the time, but it is wonderful to be able to walk, from the Louvre to the Champs-Élysées, back to Saint Honoré, to whatever, the left bank. I mean, you plot your little map out, and if you have to, you can walk everywhere. And, that's one of the reasons why the Parisians don't get fat. Because they do a lot of walking. But this is such a beautiful place to walk that, walking is a pure delight. Okay, those are the tangible things that I love about Paris. But I really do think the root of all of these wonderful, tangible things is the intangible qualities of this incredible city. And I must say, first and foremost, the Parisians really do still focus on quality and not quantity in all aspects of their life. You don't see them wasting. They are not wasteful. I mean, if they have to go to the butcher and the boulangerie and the different shops every day, they will get just what they need for the day and they will eat it, fix it, and then that's it. They don't go and buy things and then it rots in their refrigerator for the most part. I mean, that does happen. But they're very, very careful about managing, whether it's their beauty habits, to their eating habits, to how they spend their money. So they have enough left over to get quality things. They are really good at this keeping the balance, and that comes from within. So I love that because there's quality all around. Then they also live every day to the fullest. They try to savor everything, whether it's their drinking a glass of water with lemon in it. I mean, just everything, to whatever they're reading or their shopping experience. I mean, everything, or the conversation with whoever. They really just, they try to live every day like, well, this might be it. I might not wake up the next day. That, living with that kind of focus is good. They're not just superficial and just sitting around and yakking and not caring. If they're not really engaged, they're not going to do it. And I that kind of appeals to me. They savor relationships. They savor their food. They love their art. They savor art. They love fashion. Intellect and discipline is also very important to the French and to the Parisian. They read a lot still, or they have a lot of focus on being well educated. In fact, the administrators of the government in France, it's a meritocracy. Really, the people who are chosen to head the different administrative departments and everything, they truly are at the top of their class. I mean, It is really, if you are the top of your class, then you can move up the ladder. If you are not in the top of your class, you're not going to run the show of different things. So in the French, they value education and intellect a lot. So that kind of transfers down into everything. So everything is well run. And the people are disciplined. Even if they say they don't have a high position, they know that discipline is very important in keeping their life balanced and on the highest level they can. And they do it. And it makes for such a civilized place and feel. So, that's another intangible. And to me, all of these things kind of play together to create this Paris vibe. And the vibe is to me, it's kind of an ethos that makes so many people just feel comfortable here and at home here. And you would think in a city with this kind of history and this architecture and all of this just really highbrow stuff that you would, most people would think, well, this is really great, but, I don't have anything in common with them. I mean, there are so many people when they go to Paris, they just go, oh my God, I love Paris. and they don't really know why. I mean, there are a lot of beautiful things, but it's that intangible quality. And I know myself, when I walk down the streets, it's such a weird feeling, but I think, I just feel like my heart could sing. And I know that sounds so childish, but that's the way that's the reaction that I get. You just have a little bit more zip in your step. And even if it's cold, the air is not that cold. There's a famous quote that's often used to describe Paris and the Parisians is "Je ne sais quoi." And it's that certain irresistible charm or vibrancy that you can't quite explain. And that's it. It's just there. I don't know if it's in the ley lines below the street or they always talk about there's a certain kind of light in Paris, and they call it the city of light and lights now with all their, artificial lights that they have. But besides that, there really is something about it that is, you can't explain it. I'm just smitten with this magical city, and, I love Paris. I'm one of those. I'm completely, totally, madly in love with Paris.
Since our focus is solo travel, I'm wondering if you have any sort of just last tips that you can give to the solo traveler who's considering Paris. And after hearing you, I don't know who wouldn't be thinking for 2018 they've got to get to Paris.
Okay. My final tips for the solo traveler who wants to experience Paris. And they're basically, let's see, I think I have 10 of them. But your first trip is going to be different, like I said, than your subsequent trips, because your first trip, there are going to be some must-dos that are, landmarks, etc., that, you have to do. You just know that. But there really, I guess these 10 basic tips, you could kind of almost transfer them to go into any big city, but this is a little bit more tailored to Paris, and it is specifically, every one of those tips will make your Paris trip, I think, much, much better on a higher level. First, you must choose your hotel wisely, because there are so many places to stay in Paris, and so many expensive places, and so many of them you're not gonna like. Because first and foremost, they're very small. Everything is small. Paris, it's expensive. And so you have these small rooms, no air conditioning. The heater doesn't work as well as you want to. Even 4-star plus on the left bank, right by Saint-Germain-des-Prés, the square. I mean, a lot of them, they look beautiful on the outside, very charming, but once you get in them, the elevator is so small, you can't get your suitcase in them. And then they don't have the bellman takes a long time to get your suitcase in your room. You have to go up the stairs, and it's $300 a night. And this is not uncommon. So it's very hard to find just what you want at a decent price. Also, the hotel should be well located to what you want to do. Because if it's not, you are going to waste half an hour to an hour every day getting to and from where you want to be in the area, unless you want to take the metro. I'm not a fan of metros. I don't know. The older I get, I just don't like all those people smashing into me. I just stick to walking, or if I have to, I arrange my transportation. So, location is very important. If your hotel really should have a restaurant in it and some kind of nice lounge too, because your hotel is your base. So if you're a solo traveler, you want to be happy to come back to your base, and you don't want to just go right up into your room. You want to be able to either stay in the lounge to where it's comfortable enough to have a glass of wine, or in the lobby, or even eat something, a light dinner in the restaurant, and not just feel like you just feel uncomfortable. No, that's all important, as well as you need a concierge, a good concierge, because you're by yourself. You're going to need help doing certain things. You're going to need advice. Do this, don't do this, etc. That's why I shared with you that Hotel Regina. I'm telling you, this is one of the best 5-star hotels for the price I have ever been to, and the location is unbelievable. The price, the rooms start at $271 a night, which is fabulous for a 5-star hotel in Paris. This hotel was completely redone in 2015. Actually, the same family who built the hotel, and the original owners, still own it and control it. It has gorgeous Art Deco stained glass windows. In all their lounge area, they have all these different styles of French antique chairs and petite sofas and French furniture, all in a dark maroon velvet, with all this wood and these beautiful oriental rugs and these different seating areas over this white marble with black, little squares inlaid in it. Beautiful, huge, silver serving pieces and tray and pastry carts, and, bartenders there that can make any kind of concoction you can ever think of. And like I said, this is not just a place for old fogies that still like that look. They have very young, sophisticated Parisians going in there to the hotel's restaurant and their lounge to meet their significant other or business clients, or have their friends meet. It is a very special place, this hotel. And the location is so good. Like I said, it's right there at the foot of the Louvre, and you can walk right over the Seine, and there you are, Rue de Bac on the left bank. So you can explore the left bank easily. You can go to Rue Faubourg Saint-Honoré, where all those fabulous, fashion houses are, and shopping, and then go into the Marais and that whole area, La Halles. Then on the other direction, you can walk to the Champs-Élysées, Place de la Concorde, Troubadour, Avenue Montaigne. You hit the Seine again, Eiffel Tower. I mean, this place, we did not take one metro. We could walk everywhere. But at night, we walked back from all of those palace lounges, bars. It was so conveniently located, we walked back. And that hotel is really wonderful. So if you want that information from me, I'd be happy to share it because I loved that hotel. So pick your hotel wisely. Very, very important because you can blow a lot of money and you can be in a hotel that you're going to think, I don't like this hotel. It doesn't feel right. It's too cramped. It doesn't have what I need, blah, blah, blah. Second, slow travel. If at all possible, do not go to Paris for only 3 days. You need a minimum of 7 days, ideally 10 days, to have a wonderful trip. Because Paris, there's so much to do, first of all. And you want to savor everything. It is pitiful when you're just rolling by the Louvre and, blaring through this and that. And you miss walking and you have to have enough days to eat an omelet and eat steak tartare and moules frites and macaroons and crepes. I mean, quiche, Lorraine, you have to stay there long enough just to eat some of the main must-do eats foods. So, slow travel, if at all possible, when you go to Paris. And you probably will go back to, okay? Then, another thing is prearranged. And, I used to not be so heavy on this, but there are a lot of reasons to do this now. Traffic, hassle, a little bit more edge about safety. I always like now to prearrange my transport from the hotel. And I love this service called Black Lane. Their cars are all like limos or small upscale vans, and every one of them I've ever been in is black. Now, I don't know if that's a rule that they have with their company, but they're not that much more expensive than a cab. Yeah, it's a great way to come through immigration, get out, there's your little name tag, and they get you and get your luggage, and you're off and you get to the hotel. It's it definitely has a little VIP feel to it, and it's not hugely expensive, and you can easily book it online. So highly recommend Black Lane. But bottom line is, when you're going to Paris or any major city, I have found I like to have my transportation lined up rather than just getting my bags and hailing a cab or whatever. Because, I don't know, it's that first introduction to where you go a lot of times that kind of sets the tone for your trip and get you at ease. And when you're a solo traveler, all those little things at first help you kind of, flow into your vacation. Okay. Next thing is pack smart. And there are a couple of things to this packing smart. First of all, less is more. Try not to take too much. Now, I know when you're thinking about going to Paris, I got to have this outfit, I got to have that outfit, I want to make sure I look right about this, that, and other. But don't think like that. Try to think very minimalist. And I've talked about this on some of my podcasts and in my blogs. Try to take the least amount that you can get away with. In Paris, like I talked about, in the Parisians, they focus on quality. And so you don't have to have a whole lot of things. You can basically go with black pants, a black turtleneck, a jacket, a dress that can kind of, say a wrap dress that you could dress up or dress down with accessories, a trench coat, especially in they love trench coats. But you could get away with that, and maybe 2 other blouses and, say, a sweater if you wanted to. That's all you need, because you can dress it up with the pashminas and the scarves and the accessories. And they really, like I said, they have a simplistic way of the way they do dress. So you don't have to bring a lot. Don't bring all these different outfits, and your shoes. Gosh, first of all, you have to have good walking shoes because you're going to walk a lot in Paris, I can tell you, or most people do. And don't bring trainers. I mean, that is the first no that you'll get. They'll go, They just, I mean, those big shoes, they do not go for. It's either ballet kind of flats or loafers. I like Aerosol because they make a lot of nice looking loafers, just plain basic shoes that are good walking shoes. But if you go in like, tennis shoes, now the classy, like the stylish, old classic Converse looking tennis shoes, they are wearing that now. But none of those, all the different colors and all that. But I'm just saying the shoes are very important what you bring. So a pair of pumps, probably something like a very comfortable sandal most of the year. If it's in the winter, booties. Good pair of boots really is good. That'll go both rain and non-rain. And those good walking shoes. That's all you need, and stick with black or navy, brown and beige. Just stick with that. I promise you. With your accessories, you can look nice every day and you won't look in the mirror before you leave and go, oh, I don't like that. It's just, it'll be just fine, and it will be very right for Paris. And you won't have a suitcase that has too much in it because you're going to buy something when you go there.
I was going to say you're going to be shopping, so you got to have some room.
Exactly. And on top of that, make sure you have a good tote, because Paris, I didn't see that many backpackers there. Even Shishi backpackers, they're more into totes. And they have one brand called Longchamp, and it's very good. They have different sizes of their classic kind of, it's a tote like
the boat shape.
Boat shape.
Yeah.
And it comes in a purse size, medium size, kind of like sleepover bag size, and then another like a bigger carry-on. Those are very popular because you can zip them and then you can snap them. So it's very hard for anybody to pickpocket you or get anything out of your purse. And the way it's constructed, you can actually fold it all together, and it's very compact. And you don't open it up unless you need it, So it's really good. So if you have like a crossbody purse that's a little bigger, you can just put that in there, and if you start shopping, you've got your tote. You open it up. So crossbody purse is very good, especially with the chain, because there is a little bit of a problem with the pickpockets. And you never know when somebody's going to slash your strap and off with your purse quick. They're really good. I mean, pickpockets all around the world, and specifically in Paris. So pack wisely. 5. Pre-trip research is critical, because there's so much to do in Paris. And if you don't do your research and kind of zone into what you want to do, you're going to be overwhelmed, or you're going to miss a whole lot that's right in front of your nose that you don't realize is there. So do your research on the internet, websites, blogs. I like videos, YouTube videos, as well as now podcast. And then from that, you put together a to-do list and your must-dos. I like to then take all of the things that I want to do and kind of get a map and plot their location on a map and see where all these are in relation to each other, in relation to my hotel. And then I'd start devising a rough draft itinerary, which I kind of try to do every day in a zone. And then within that zone, I do key things that I have to do, and then maybe mix it up with a different kind of activity. So you have a nice flow, ebb and flow in what you're doing. So that's important, especially when you go to Paris, because if you don't, here again, you're going to miss a lot of stuff that you don't even know that you're missing, and it's a shame. Okay, number 6. Don't be afraid to take a few tours there, because they have some really good tours. Like our walking tour that we did, our food tour, that was excellent, because we not only went to only Michelin star restaurants, we learned all about, the chefs and the whole thing. And we got also a nice feel of walking in Paris and some information about, this and that and the other. So it's a real, it was definitely worth it, and they have wine tasting tours. They have all kinds of different things, bike tours, specialty tours to museum, architecture tours, shopping. They have people who will take you wherever you want to shop and take you behind the curtains and everything else what you want to do. I mean, so don't be afraid to take those tours. And if it's your first time to Paris, a lot of people don't like those hop on, hop off tours. But in Paris, it's a good idea to do because you really do get a feel for the whole city, how it's laid out. You get that first glimpse of the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, Place de la Concorde, the Louvre, Tuileries Gardens, Bois de Boulogne. You know where these things are. So when you set out during your other days, you'll know, well, I have time. I want to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower because I'm going to be in this area. So it's a very good introduction. So don't be afraid to do that. And if you have the time, like I said, they have those wonderful day tours to Versailles, Fontainebleau, the wine country, Champagne district, Giverny, to, some of the chateau areas. They're worth it. I mean, it's quite beautiful. Okay, and then number 7, best time to go, shoulder season. Because, first of all, Paris is not overwhelmed by too many tourists. Second, it's very affordable at that time. It might not be totally the most affordable, but it is very affordable. That's kind of when we went. And that's one of the reasons why we got such a good rate. If we would have stayed a little closer to Christmas, the room would have gotten higher. It would have been more expensive. Plus, everything is fully open. In off seasons, a lot of times things are not as open, or they close earlier, or there are 2 days where they'll be closed, where normally they're open, every day of the week. So those are the 2 best times. Occur between April and June and September and November. So go during the shoulder season for all of those reasons. Then number 8, lean on that concierge. You have to stay in a hotel that has a concierge. And that's another great thing about the Hotel Regina. Their concierge are all order d'or or whatever. There's a chef d'or. I don't know what exactly it's called, but it's basically a very prestigious society of concierges, and it's very hard to get into.
Is this that Gold Key society?
Yeah. That's the concierge at the Hotel Regina. They're that level, and they're just wonderful. But you in Paris, it's imperative you lean on them because you want them to get the tickets to the museums where you don't have to stand in line. A little tip about museums: either go there very early. And if you have to reserve a space, like in Yves Saint Laurent, you can't just show up. You have to go during a certain window of time. Either go when it first opens, or the hour before, 2 hours before it closes, or however long you think you're going to need to visit there. Because if not, I think their lines can be really aggravating. So you can get these tickets. You can get the tickets to avoid the lines. You have to pay a little bit more, but your concierge can do it. You don't want to go to the museum, buy the tickets, stand in the line. It's very important. As well as booking the tours, any entertainment, and the restaurant reservations. You can't walk into a lot of these Michelin star restaurants. You have to have a reservation. So, you got to get your concierge to do it. So lean on the concierge heavily. And also for to-dos and what not to-dos. Things that are going on maybe that you didn't catch off the internet that really are good. So that's very important in Paris because the ones that are good are very well connected, and you can probably get into most anything you want to do. Number 9 is practice good manners. even though the French can be a little, rude, they value if they see you comport yourself with good manners. If you walk into a restaurant or a shop and you do not say hello or bonjour, mademoiselle, or or you thank them merci or bonsoir, there they go. They'll go. Ugh. They won't even pay attention to you. I mean, you can be asking them, and they'll look you straight in the face and walk off. I mean, simply because you did not tell them hello when you walked in. It's very important. Those little subtle things. Don't be too loud. They don't like all this loud. The French are... They don't like big, loud people. So tone it down when you're in Paris, because that'll get them to really kind of give you that... And keep you cool. Don't get mad. They might make you mad, but they're not as bad as they were. So practice good manners. You might want to read up a little bit before you leave. Not anything serious, but think like that, because it'll go a much longer way when you're in Paris. And then last, just live in the moment. When you're in Paris, if you're staying too long at one place, let it go. I mean, Paris is a place to me where you discover something wonderful around the block, or you end up in a cafe where you just have a fabulous glass of wine. It's so fabulous that you end up having 3. Don't worry about it. Just have that 3. I mean, really, it is that kind of feel and consciousness. So don't rob yourself of that. Think like that. Now, you can't overdo it, because you might never see anything but drink. No. I'm just teasing. But that's important. And let yourself do it. Of course, take lots of photos, because I can tell you, when you look back on your trip or trips to Paris, and you look at those photographs, it'll bring back a lot of those feelings that you get when you're there, that unfortunately the longer you stay away, the memory kind of fades. So be prepared to take a lot of pictures. You'll be happy that you do that. So I kind of wrap this up. If you're feeling the need to recharge your batteries, or you're looking for new inspiration or ideas for improving your lifestyle or your appearance, plan a trip to Paris. And as they say, Paris is always a good idea.
Listeners, if packing makes you say, zut alors, we have something for you. Astrid has a Très Bien packing list available for download. Just go to her website, astridtravel.com. It's right there on the homepage. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and really find it any of the finer places that podcasts can be found. We thank you so much for listening this week. I cannot imagine that anybody isn't thinking in 2018 they are going to make a trip to Paris based on this very show. So we hope that you tell us all about your adventures. Check in with Astrid on any of her social media. Thank you so much for listening. Au revoir.
Thank you for listening to Solo Travel Talk. Follow Astrid on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. To learn more about Astrid or Solo Travel Advisors, visit our website, astridtravel.com.